Hello, welcome back to all listeners, and welcome to all of you new listeners. Thank you for listening to this Dhamma talk or any Dhamma talks that you listen to. You can be certain if you practice what you're learning, you're bound to be successful. Today's talk is second in a set of 3 talks. It's entitled Hatred. The Pali word is Dosa. Hatred is such a strong word. Many of us resist the idea that we really hate things or people, places, events, etc. We don't like it, or we don't approve, or it makes us mad, or something along that line. But in fact, if we listen to our own speech, we often use that word. Oh, I just hated that guy, or I just hated that food, or I hated her new haircut, or anyway, the word hatred pops up more often in our speech than we might recognize if we're not practicing mindfulness moment by moment. The same for the previous talks. When we want, we don't recognize how often we say, I want, I like, I think, etc., for the forms that craving takes. So this hatred or anger or aversion or dislike or not wanting or rejecting or refusing, these are all words that we can use to describe dosa. They are the opposite of the words we use to describe craving. In other words, they're the other side of the coin. You can't hate something if there isn't something that you love. You can't like something if there isn't something that you dislike. So we need them by definition to characterize or define the values that we have in this life. So there also, this dosa is number 2 of our 5 enemies, our 5 hindrances. The first was craving, and now we're talking about the second one, aversion, having an aversion to something. So what does this look like in a day-to-day practice, a day-to-day moment? We make contact with the world through those 5 sense doors. If it's something in the world that we can see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, that's making contact with the world. And once we make contact, a consciousness arises in that moment of contact. When we close our eyes, that moment of contact ends, and the consciousness of seeing also ends in that moment. Now, the 6th sense is when we make contact with thinking and with the emotions that accompany our thinking, the emotions that accompany when we're recollecting our memories, the emotions that accompany our daydreams, our fantasies about something that we wish will occur in the future. So if we're going to awaken to the ways in which we pollute our mind, by that I mean the ways in which we disturb the mind's natural tendency or natural condition to be peaceful, to be mellow, to be equanimous. We disturb it every time we crave, lust, want, desire, demand, expect. We disturb it when we don't like, don't want, resist, reject, hate the present moment. And it's essential that we take responsibility for having disturbed our own mind. Whether our sports team or some athlete or musician or some other person outside of ourselves does something we like or don't like, they're successful or they lose, the contest on TV, whatever. Our reaction to that is determined by us, not by the world, not by their success or failure, but our reaction to it. And if we get mad, well, we just threw a huge rock into a very still and tranquil and beautiful pond. And the ripples of it disturb our equanimity, and we're now in hell. We have now created a painful, unhappy moment for ourselves. This is true also for the people who have recently experienced these storms in the south. Their reaction to their loss is actually a choice. I'm not saying that it's not natural to be sad, to be depressed, to be discouraged. Of course it is natural, but it is a choice, and until we recognize it is a choice we're making, we could choose to remember what Buddha teaches about the nature of being alive, and that is everything is in a state of flux. We cannot depend on anything. We cannot depend our home will be there when we go back after work or after a vacation. My own sister went to a soccer game to watch her son play soccer, and the family of 5, when they came home, their house was burned to the ground. There was nothing left in the house. Now, she has a choice. How angry does she want to get? How much does she want to destroy her sense of well-being? So, without this willingness to take responsibility for our cravings and our aversions, we are lost in the world. We are one of those objects being thrashed around by the hurricane that is unable to direct its own path. Some piece of wood or a car or an animal spinning around in a hurricane and being thrown out at the will, so to speak, of the hurricane. That's what our mind is doing when we crave and when we have aversions. It's just spinning and spinning, called proliferating, and making us temporarily happy, or hopefully temporarily, only temporarily, unhappy. Even when we're happy, it doesn't last. It cannot last. It's impermanent. It's subject to change. And our tenacity in trying to hang on to things in the world, including our own moods, is bound to failure. So if we want to be successful, we need to develop something called dispassion, or renunciation, or detachment. We don't invest things in the world with values that, when they're disturbed, broken, lost, damaged, that it crushes us. We must learn to let go, and we must learn to let go of every moment, whatever nature it might have. That is the path to tranquility. It's the path to liberation. That means the path to ending this cycle of rebirth, where everything is subject to change. It's insubstantial. It cannot be depended on. And most importantly, it does not have a self. Thank you. Thank you for reaching the end of this talk. We hope you will investigate the mind so that you can walk the path successfully and end this cycle of rebirth. Blessings to you all.